tend to look at me odd when I'm talking to a camera. Strange, huh? Especially in a world of reality TV shows. And then you're going to look at somebody weird for talking to a camera. I've already taken 2 trips and I had to carry a lot of gear with me this time around, so it's one of those things where I've had to like really put myself out there this time. It took me about 40 minutes to walk in this far one time, and this is my last trip, thankfully. This is my little buddy down here. He's pooped already. He's already too tired. He wants to get lay down somewhere. Come on, Shield, let's go. Come on, let's go. Last time. I've been tripping over my dog here. He's once again, he's all tangled in the leash under his belly and everything. It's been a debate for quite some time whether to unleash my dog or not. He doesn't pull or anything, but he almost pulled me down there just because he gets tangled in the leash. And I have very little capability to bend over and untangle him from the leash. I can't afford to be hurt out here. There's nobody here to pick me up. My wife, my family are over about an hour away actually by car, and then by the time they found me in here, bumped up, scraped up, whatever, it'd be quite a bit longer than that. Great dog, absolutely fantastic, really. Just has a few quirks just like the rest of us. Stop a minute. This is pretty much how it's been. 10 minutes walking, 10 minutes resting, back and forth. Come on, Shio. Gee. Shio. Gee. Wanna? Good boy. See? He knows sled dog commands. I had to teach him that, so teach him to go left and right. He does know left and right, although I don't use the words left and right, mostly because dogs don't know English anyway. The other reason is because left and right are most common words used in the English language. So to use something other than left and right is a good idea. Now what I have ahead of me up the trail here, it really loses depth perception being here, mostly because with the camera and stuff like that, it just doesn't do it justice. It doesn't help having to film everything either. It's a one-man show here. I get to film it, I get to carry it. Alright, this wasn't 10 minutes rest, but I gotta get moving here. I still gotta set camp up. I've got a lot to do yet. And I'm sweating a little bit, but I'm not dripping, which is nice. I don't like to drip. I'm sure most of you feel the same way. But I'm here. Again, this is a camp I've used many times, so I know what to expect. Well, I think I'm going to take a nice long break. Very nice, very long. He's got the right idea. Drink water, lots of it right now. Dosha. You see, I brought my tent. Alright, the tent can be a mixed blessing. It really can. It's hard to actually stay in a tent if you have back problems. I understand that. And I actually am having a flare-up of sciatica right now, which that should help people to understand, what you go through as far as like sleeping on the ground with sciatica. But there's a reason why I pick certain spots like I do. First of all, this is all built on a real dense layer of moss. Ain't that pretty? A nice, dense, thick layer of moss is like a sponge. You can't always find that, though. That's why it's always nice to pick places that you know what you're going to find when you get there. I knew that this moss was going to be here, and that short of coming in here and fracking this area or something like that, I knew it'd probably still be here. The other reason I picked a tent is because of the cooler temperatures. Cooler temperatures, I prefer a tent. I'm very sensitive to the cold, sensitive to the heat as well, but once the cold sets in, my ribs start hurting and I feel like hell. So I like to try to stay warm. Warm is really important to me, sometimes more important to me than comfort. So that's why I brought the tent. I know the tent is going to take care of the warmth. It's going to add a good 10 degrees to the ambient temperature outside, just from my body heat and actually his body heat as well. I expect to be nice and warm in here, whereas if I would have brought a hammock, I probably would be needing all of my layers. I would be putting on all of my clothing and then climbing into my sleeping bag. Now, it's very important that you use a bear bag. When you're out in the woods such as this, you do not want to have food in your camp. It's very important that even though you're disabled, you need to hang a bear bag. Do not leave your food on the ground or in camp. I know it's so tempting. It really is. But I've had so many camp encounters with bear. It's just not a good idea. Just smart, okay? A lot of us have trouble throwing things now, especially getting distance and height when you throw things. Very difficult sometimes to figure out how you're going to get your rope over that limb in that tree. I've engineered a few things and re-engineered a few things to help that get a little bit easier for us. There's one little handy device started using, but I have had to modify it. It's not the same device I bought. Okay. First of all, you'll notice that the head is actually tilted back, and I've also made some modifications to the end. That actually helps the release, because what I found out is that when you throw this, it was meant for distance, but it had no height. There was no way to get it to go up. So I had to do this in order to actually modify this so you could throw upward into a tree. Now, the first time I used this, I was really surprised how little effort I needed to put into it to actually get some rather amazing height out of it. So I kept working with it, and eventually I came up with this. Now the rope along here is actually tied into the tennis ball. Okay, I just made a hole in it, passed the rope completely through the tennis ball, put a knot on it. Okay, and believe it or not, it flies. The rest of what you're going to need is you're going to need something to put your food in. I suggest a large black trash bag, black or green, because you want to camouflage it as much as possible. I know a lot of people say, oh, bear are colorblind. I'm not a subscriber to that. And then you're going to need about 100 feet of clothesline. I usually just get nylon clothesline. Nylon because it holds up a little better and it's lighter weight. And I say 100 feet because it's better to have it than to not have it. Now the reason I have this leader line on here is because this is actually a lighter gauge paracord, and it tends to give a little bit of a flight to it before it has to take the nylon cord with it. Okay, so I'm walking upwind to look for a good place to hang a bear bag. You want something overhanging, of course, but what I've been looking for too, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll look for a hillside. You know, notice how the slope of the hill is downward. Alright, now by looking for this downward slope, I can look, by going downhill, I can look for trees out ahead of me where the branches are high when you get down to the tree. But from further back, the branch isn't quite so high. From that spot, you can actually throw the ball over the tree limb and make perfect bear bags, like way higher than you could have thought possible. So you look for the spots that are overhanging, somewhat like that branch there.
Years ago, after winding himself around his 1 billionth tree, my dog Shio and I took on the eternal question that has plagued dog owners for endless generations. Where the hell can I tie this dog that he won't hang himself?
Introducing the Shio 2012 Wilderness Dog Run. 10 feet of action allows for 20 feet of running space. 8 feet side to side. This commercial may take longer than anticipated, as both of our actors are really dragging their asses today. Simply add dog and you're set to go. Although created for the laid-back dog, the 100% braided nylon overhead rope allows for safe deceleration without recoil. The Shio 2010 model comes equipped with added anti-recoil adaptations. While allowing access, the two stop nuts prevent your best friend from reaching completely around the trees on either end.
Whole area to walk around in. And no tangling around trees, neither. That was the big thing about designing this, so he couldn't wrap himself around trees. As long as you can find two trees that are suited without enough trees around him that he can get wound up in. These knots are just big enough that this little ring will not go over. So if he would run in either direction, the rope would give. I had several other designs. This one seemed to work the best. Time for some pain medication. It's one of those times where I wish the drugs were stronger. Oh well. As you know, I keep the opiates at a very minimal usage. The sad thing is that I don't get much relief anymore either. It's hard to figure sometimes. It's starting to look more and more like fall, and it's just about here. So, I'm kind of wondering what this winter's going to be like. Could be pretty brutal. Well, I've debated whether to have a fire or not. What I'm probably going to do is just set up a smudge fire, which is really not really a fire as much as it is a smoldering pile of leaves, just to keep the mosquitoes away, at least until it gets cold enough to keep them away. And then I'll just light a candle. I gathered a bunch of birch bark. That should work pretty good for just a smudge fire. Here's a cool little invention I made up. I have a hook, especially since I've been disabled. It's just a twisted wire. I put a little lanyard on the back. I've been calling it the hook. Just because, yeah, I've been hooking onto things and pulling it to me, whatever it takes. Having little things like this that actually help you to make life easier. Life can really suck when you're disabled. And when you make something little like this yourself and you start to see it work and you realize that, hey, I didn't have to worry about, about buying something or anything like that. I beat it with what was in my own head. Because the truth is, if I didn't have this wire laying around, I probably would have made it out of a coat hanger or something like that, I actually did make another one of these. I made it out of an old extendable radio antenna for a car. It works really nice. It was a little heavy, so I didn't bring it. The wire one actually weighs very little, so that's actually why I brought this one instead. Well, for sure I overdid it today. I don't know, I'm out here. That means a lot to me. You hear all the crickets, what's going on out here in the forest. You start realizing that this is the real world. This is the world that really matters.
Not all that goes on down there. Life and death. It all happens right here, every single day. Sad thing is all we do is f with it. Pardon my French. Often it seems inevitable that no matter how hard you try, the worst catches up with you. A misplaced step, a branch or a rock on the trail that catches your foot. When it happens, it's sudden. But when it happens, you almost always remember it as if it were in slow motion. And you know even before you hit, this is going to hurt.
That was just a simulation. I didn't really fall. I actually have Shio's foam mat underneath me to break my sit down, and I did. A friend of mine had asked me to discuss falling on the trail, and it's a good idea. I've fallen a few times. It's never any fun, but it's important to understand, to be ready. There are things you can do to prevent a fall. One of the biggest things, especially people that have been lucky enough to get off of crutches, get out of the wheelchair, get off of the cane they were using, or other walker device, something that has really caused a lot of trouble, is that you really need those things out here. Out here, this is really a necessity. Without it, it's 3 times harder to walk around here than it is the woods and the lowland. And it is probably 10 times harder to walk around here than just a city street. There's so many things that are in your way. But if you have something with you, I mean, if you stopped using a cane for the woods, it's a good idea. It's a very good idea. The other thing is walking sticks. I use 2 of them. Not one, I use 2 of them. I know healthy hikers that insist on using 2 walking sticks all the time, even though they're healthy. Why? Because it helps you to keep from falling even when you're healthy. So, you know, if you think, oh, I'd be going backwards or something, no. Truth is, you're going forward. You're going forward if you are able to keep doing this. But if you fall all the time, if you injure yourself, things get rough real fast. 2 items that I started carrying with me a long time ago, that just because they make good common sense. First of all, a cell phone. Carry a cell phone. Don't leave for the woods without it. You know, there are a lot of ways to track you by this, and it's always a good idea. One other thing, a whistle. Sometimes I'm camped off of the trail. Not a lot, but enough where if I were laying here injured, somebody might not see me. This will help somebody see me. Remember the universal signals. The universal signal for help is 3. Anything in 3s. 3 blows on a whistle, 3 fires, 3 knocks on a tree, repeatedly. You can try to SOS if you know Morse code, but most people do not know Morse code. I actually went out of my way to teach myself SOS. It's 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. So, something like that works perfect. But the person on the other end has to know the code or else you're sunk. But rescue personnel usually do know Morse code to some degree. Here he comes now. I'm a good dog. You're a good boy. You're a good boy.
Candle lanterns. I've used 2 different types of candle lanterns over my hiking years. I tend to use this one because it's the lightest. I'm not thrilled about the tea light
candles that you can buy. They're very poorly made, and they do not work very well unless you modify them. I'll tell you how I modify them in a minute. Alright, here's my candle lantern with the little tea light in there. There is a hole inside of those little candles around the wick. And you can see how I actually went and filled the hole in. Alright, with that hole in there, what happens is the wick completely burns away before the candle wax actually starts melting and forming a pool. The wick gets immediately flooded with wax, and you can't, if you do get a flame, it's like a teeny tiny thing. So what I've been doing is I take another tea light and I squeeze the metal together to make a pour spout, and then I pour wax down into the hole. Very time consuming, but it has to be done. Now that I do that, these work fine, no problem at all. And in fact, like I said, I can use this and even call it one of my better pieces of equipment, but I have to modify the candles. If I don't, it won't work worth a damn. These are really nice too, because I have like 4 of them stacked together, all taped together like this, and then sitting on top, they all fit right inside there, one little package. And the tea lights, they do actually burn for quite a while. I get like maybe about 2 hours, 3 hours out of each one. Usually use like one a night. So, but it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. Just had a little visitor. I was just sitting here, I heard this rustling. Kept watching, and something real low to the ground crawling. As soon as it saw the flashlight was on it, it headed right towards it, and a real low crawl. I couldn't tell what it was at first. I thought maybe it was a raccoon or something. It's a fox. Good medicine. He was heading straight for us. She was laying here fast asleep. Never heard him coming. I mean, that's a fox for you. He knew exactly what he was doing. But yeah, good to see him out here. If I had to give this up, I don't know what I'd do with myself. This place teaches me so much. Not just about myself, but about everything. I love that sound. Tree frogs and crickets. It's lulled me to sleep so many times. Heck, if I'm not careful, I'll go to sleep now. Alright, well, now that the dog's all sacked out, now it's my turn to get some rest. Shio is out like a light. He was getting a little rambunctious before. Now just wants sleep. Not sure, but I think that's all I want too. So good night. Morning. Rough night last night. Very rough. Maybe around midnight, a very vicious pop-up thunderstorm came rolling through. It rained for a good 2 hours. I don't know where that came from. It was not supposed to rain until next Tuesday, I think. But, I mean, that's the nature of these mountains. These mountains do kind of like
hold a little bit of that fly swatter kind of attitude. I'm not sure if I'm staying or not, because I was trying to save weight, and I did not bring a tarp for over my tent. Usually if I'm expecting bad weather, that's exactly what I do, because I mean a tent will keep you dry to an extent, but what happens is a lot of times the moisture actually comes up from underneath, and that's actually what seems to have happened here more than anything. I mean, I checked it out, the tent, while it was raining last night, no problem, no leaks, you know, but then I checked my puppy boy here, and he was laying in a puddle of water. And I did my best to dry him off and stuff. He's mostly dry now. He's got a little bit of moisture around the ears, but you know, I felt sorry for him. So I used up a lot of materials trying to dry him off. Sometimes you plan and things just don't go right. So right now I'm in the process of deciding whether I'm going to stick it out or, well, stick it out and try to dry everything out, or just pack up and head for home. I really don't want to head for home though. I mean, except for this rain, I've had a pretty good time.
Yeah, you probably wondered, why did he tie his pack into a tree? Well, it makes a lot of sense for us who have a lot of trouble bending over and standing back up again. It's really tied on with one loop and can be completely undone with one pull of that knot. It's very important that you know how to make that knot though, because you don't want to have to be fumbling with this thing while you're trying to put it on, because that's actually how I put it on. After I load everything, after I strap everything on, I'll spin it around like this and lean it up against the tree. Then turning around, I'll put one arm through the strap, bring the waist belt around, still supported by the tree, and I'm actually leaning against the tree. Bring the other waist strap around, buckle up, put your other arm into the strap, put your sternum strap on. You'll hurt yourself, especially because now you're going to untie that knot, and then when it does, that pack weight's going to come down on you. So you kind of want to hang on to something. You know, I got a tree over here, I got a tree here. You can't see the one here because it's out of view, but trust me, there's a tree there, so I can hang on to it. All right, and then finding that knot, one pull, and this will come out, off with me. All right, you kind of want to hang it in the tree at the same height you're going to want to wear it. You're not going to want it real high. You're not going to want that weight coming down on you like that. You're going to want this to kind of just like kind of ease onto you as the knot loosens up, and then you just walk away. This is actually the first time I ever tried this with an external frame pack. I've done this 100 times with an internal frame pack, but I've never done it with an external. I'm kind of interested to see how it'll turn out. Like I said, it's good that you have this tree right here. I'm leaning against it. I have it to hang on to. If I get one of my dizzy spells, I don't have to worry about falling over. I have to load it up. I don't want to pull that knot until I do. Okay. way out of the woods here. And I'm in a lot of pain. Shio is like really moving slow. And I don't know if it's because he senses that I can't move too fast, or if he's sore too from yesterday. I didn't really have him carry too much. Well, we're only about a quarter of the way to the road. And I don't want to stand around yapping too much. She just bottomed out on me. He just took a dive and he's not moving no more. That's not fair. I almost feel like I better get it over with. I can't take more painkillers. I'll never make it then. I'll bottom out before I get there. So, let's see if I can't make a little bit of headway here. I gotta put the camera away. I cannot hike and hold this camera and use walking sticks at the same time. It's just not possible. And walking sticks are very, very essential. I'm down the hill. I don't know if you can see the mountain and stuff back there that used to be on my back. It's really not that heavy for the normal hiker. It's just, I'm not the normal hiker. I'm having a lot of breathing problems now. Just a lot of pain. Hot shower, some time, and I'll be on the mend, ready to do it again. Shio too, my best friend. Okay, so I guess that's it. One more hike down. Be careful out there.